Welcome to the Daily English Learning Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Daily English Learning Podcast. I'm Olivia, and with me is my wonderful co-host Martin. We are so excited to dive into today's topic, present simple versus present continuous. If you've ever wondered why some sentences use plays and others use is playing, you're in the right place. This is one of the most essential grammar topics in English, and once you understand the difference between these two tenses, you'll speak with much more confidence and accuracy. So, are you ready to become a master of present tenses? Let's get started.
Absolutely, Olivia. And for those who just joined us, let me quickly explain what this is all about. The present simple is used for facts, habits, and routines. For example, I eat breakfast every morning. The present continuous, on the other hand, is used when an action is happening right now, like, I am eating breakfast right now. But here's the catch. There are a lot of exceptions and nuances that can trip up even the most advanced learners. So, hang on tight because we are going to take this one step at a time. First, let's get the basics straight.
Exactly, Martin. And to make this easier to understand, we'll walk through each tense with clear examples, explain when to use them, and even give you some real-life scenarios to help you practice. By the end of this episode, you'll be able to confidently choose between the present simple and present continuous in just about any situation. So let's start with the core concept of each tense.
Great. Let's start with the present simple. This tense is used for general truths, habitual actions, and scheduled future events. For example, the sun rises in the east is a general truth. She goes to work every day shows a habit. And the train leaves at 8 o'clock tomorrow is a scheduled future event. The base form of the verb is used here, and there are specific rules for adding s or s in the third person singular, like he plays football or she teaches English.
Right. And now let's move on to the present continuous. This tense is formed with the auxiliary verb to be plus the present participle of the main verb. It's used to describe actions happening right now, temporary situations, or future arrangements. For example, I am eating dinner. They are moving to a new city this summer, or we are meeting at the cafe tomorrow. Martin, can you give us some more examples?
Of course. Let me think. How about the children are playing in the park or she is studying for her exams right now? These show actions that are happening at the moment of speaking. Another example could be, he is working on his project this week, which indicates a temporary situation. And for future arrangements, we are having dinner at 7 o'clock tonight. That's the present continuous in action.
Perfect. So the key difference is that the present simple is for routines, facts, and general truths, while the present continuous is for actions happening now, temporary situations, or future plans. Now, let's take a look at some real-life examples to make it even clearer.
Let's say you're talking about your daily routine. You would say, I wake up at 7 o'clock, have breakfast, and go to work. All of these are habitual actions, so the present simple is used. But if you're at home right now and you say, I'm having breakfast, that's the present continuous, because the action is happening now. Another example, I live in London versus I am staying in London for the weekend, which shows a temporary situation.
That's right. And when it comes to future arrangements, you might say, we are going to the cinema tomorrow instead of we go to the cinema tomorrow. The present continuous makes it clear that the action is planned and in progress. It's like saying, we have made the arrangement to go. So, the present continuous is also used for future events that are more definite than future simple. That's an important point to remember.
And here's another one. If you're describing something that's happening right now, you definitely use the present continuous. For example, it is raining, or she is writing an email. But if you're stating a fact about the weather, like it rains a lot in London, you use the present simple. The key is the context and the time frame.
Exactly. And to make it even clearer, let's look at some more examples. I play the piano every day versus I'm playing the piano right now. He works at a bank versus he is working at a bank today. These examples show how the same verb can be used in two different tenses depending on the situation. Understanding this will help you speak more accurately and naturally.
And it's worth noting that some verbs are used almost exclusively in one tense or the other. For example, verbs like know, love, or believe are usually in the present simple, when talking about feelings or states. You would say, I love pizza or she believes in hard work, but not I am loving pizza or she is believing in hard work. On the other hand, verbs like go, come, or leave can be used in both tenses depending on the context. He goes to school every day versus he is going to school now. So it's all about the situation.
Right. And this brings us to a really important point. Context is everything. If you're not clear on whether an action is a habit, a fact, a temporary situation, or something happening right now, you're more likely to choose the wrong tense. That's why it's crucial to pay attention to the time frame and the situation when using these tenses.
And to make it even more interesting, there are some exceptions and special cases that we'll be covering in the next section, the deep dive. But for now, let's make sure you've got the core concept down. So, to recap, the present simple is for general truths, habitual actions, and scheduled future events, while the present continuous is for actions happening now, temporary situations, and future arrangements. If you can remember that, you'll be on the right track.
And remember, the form of the present simple is the base verb with s or es for third person singular, and the present continuous is be plus present participle. Let's do a quick review with some sentences. She studies English versus she is studying English. They live in New York versus they are living in New York for the next month. And finally, the meeting starts at 10 Huglet versus the meeting is starting at 10 Huglet tomorrow. These examples should help you see the difference more clearly.
Great examples, Olivia. And let's not forget that sometimes the present continuous is used to describe actions that are not happening right now, but are in progress. For instance, I am working on a new project this week. Even though it's not happening at the exact moment you're speaking, the phrase this week indicates that the action is in progress. So it's not just about what's happening right now. It can also describe something temporary or ongoing.
Exactly, Martin. And this is where things can get a bit tricky. You have to pay attention to the time expressions and the context. If you say she is working at a bank, it means she is working there temporarily, maybe for a limited time. But if you say she works at a bank, it's a general statement about her job. It's all about the nuance. So keep this in mind when you're using these tenses.
And don't forget the future meaning of the present continuous. When you say, we are going to the concert tomorrow, it implies that the event is planned and confirmed. That's different from the present simple, which is more for general statements. So if you say, we go to the concert every weekend, that's a habit. But if you say, we are going to the concert tomorrow, it's a specific upcoming event.
Right. And this is a great time to remind you that even native speakers can sometimes get confused between the present simple and present continuous. But with practice and attention to context, you'll start to feel more confident in your choices. So, in the next part of the episode, we'll dive a little deeper into the nuances, exceptions, and common mistakes to look out for. But for now, let's move on to the deep dive section, where we'll explore these tenses in even more detail.
Perfect. The deep dive is where things get really interesting. Let's start by looking at some exceptions and special cases. For example, some verbs are not typically used in the present continuous, even if the context seems to require it. Verbs like, believe, know, and have are usually in the present simple. You would say, I like chocolate, not I am liking chocolate. But wait, if you say, I am liking chocolate right now, it actually has a slightly different meaning. It can imply a more temporary or current preference. So it's not entirely forbidden, but it's not common, so be careful with these.
That's a great point, Martin. And this brings up an important rule. Certain verbs of feeling, thought, or belief are usually in the present simple. For example, I think you're right. She loves cats, or they know the answer. These are states rather than actions, so they don't fit well in the present continuous. However, in some cases, the present continuous can be used to express a temporary feeling or belief. For example, I am really loving this movie, or she is starting to like him. These are more casual and temporary uses, so the present continuous works here.
Exactly. And it's also worth noting that some verbs can be used in both tenses depending on the context. For example, run can be in the present simple for a habitual action, like he runs every morning, or in the present continuous for an action happening now, like he is running in the park. So the key is to look at the situation and the time frame. The same verb can have two different meanings depending on the tense.
And this is where time expressions come into play. Time expressions like now, at the moment, right now, or currently often signal the present continuous. So if you hear someone say, she is studying now, you know it's the present continuous. On the other hand, time expressions like usually, always, often, or every day usually indicate the present simple. For example, I usually wake up at 7 o'clock. He always eats breakfast. Or they often go for a walk after dinner.
That's a really helpful tip, Olivia. Time expressions can give you a clue about which tense to use. Another thing to keep in mind is the use of the present continuous for future arrangements. For example, we are meeting at the cafe tomorrow, or they are flying to Paris next week. These are definite plans, and the present continuous is used to express them. It's different from the future simple, which is used for predictions or general future events like, it will rain tomorrow, Olivia, right? So when you're talking about future events that are already arranged or confirmed, you use the present continuous. But if you're making a prediction or talking about something that might happen, you use the future simple. This is a common point of confusion, so it's important to get this straight. Let's look at some examples to clarify this. The train is leaving at 8:00 tomorrow. Present continuous for a definite arrangement versus the train will leave at 8:00 tomorrow. In the first case, the train's departure is already scheduled and confirmed, so the present continuous is used. In the second case, the train's departure is more of a general statement about the future. Exactly. And this is a great opportunity to mention another exception to the present continuous. Some verbs like have can be tricky. For example, I have a car is the present simple, but I am having a car problem right now is the present continuous. So again, it all depends on the context and the meaning you want to convey.
Right. And this is why it's so important to learn the verbs and their common uses. Some verbs are almost always in the present simple, while others can be used in both tenses. For example, to live can be in the present simple for a permanent situation like I live in London, or in the present continuous for a temporary situation like I am living in London for the next month. So again, it all depends on the context and the time frame.
And here's another interesting point. Some people use the present continuous to sound more natural or conversational. For example, in informal speech, you might hear I am loving this party, instead of the more formal I love this party. It's a way of expressing a stronger, more immediate emotion. However, in formal writing, you would stick to the present simple for these types of statements. So, it's all about the tone and the setting.
That's right, Martin. And this is another reason why context is so important. You have to consider the situation, the audience, and the tone when choosing between the present simple and present continuous. Let's take another example. If you're talking to a friend about your weekend plans, you might say, I'm going to the beach tomorrow, which is a future arrangement. But if you're writing an article about your daily routine, you would say, I go to the beach every weekend, which is the present simple for a habitual action.
And it's also worth mentioning that the present continuous can be used to describe changes that are happening over time. For example, the world is becoming more digital, or she is getting better at English. These are ongoing changes that are not yet complete. And the present continuous is used to show that the action is in progress.
Exactly, and this is a great example of how the present continuous can be used to describe something that is developing or changing. So even if the action isn't happening right at the moment, the present continuous can still be used to show that it's in progress. This is a subtle but important distinction.
And let's not forget the use of the present continuous for actions that are happening around a particular time, even if the action itself isn't ongoing. For example, I am having dinner at $7 tonight, or they are flying to New York tomorrow. These are specific times when the action is happening, but the action itself is not necessarily ongoing. It's more about the timing than the duration.
Right. And this is another reason why it's important to pay attention to the time expressions. If you see a specific time or a future event mentioned, it's often a good indicator that the present continuous is being used. So, in summary, the present continuous is used for actions happening now, temporary situations, future arrangements, and changes over time. The present simple is used for general truths, habitual actions, and scheduled future events. But as we've seen, there are exceptions and nuances that you need to be aware of.
And to make sure you're comfortable with the deep dive section, let's go over a few more examples. I am working on a new project this week. Present continuous for a temporary situation. I work at a bank. The sun rises in the east. She is rising to the top of the company. I am eating breakfast right now. Present continuous for an action happening now, and I eat breakfast every morning. These examples should help clarify the different uses.
Exactly. And if you want to test your understanding, try to think of your own examples for each tense. See if you can come up with a sentence in the present simple and another in the present continuous that use the same verb but in different contexts. This will help you internalize the difference between the two tenses.
And remember, practice is key. The more you use these tenses in real-life situations, the more natural they will become. So, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Every learner makes them. And the important thing is to learn from them.
Right. So with that, we've covered the deep dive section, and I hope you feel more confident about using the present simple and present continuous. Now, let's move on to the next part of the episode, fun scenarios and role play. This is where you'll see these tenses in action in real-life situations. So, grab your coffee or tea, and let's get into it.
All right, time for the fun part. I love role plays. Olivia, let's imagine we're at a cafe. I'm the customer, and you're the barista. I want to order coffee, but I also want to talk about my routine. Let's start.
Okay, Martin, welcome to the cafe. What can I get for you?
Hi, I'd like a cappuccino, please. Also, I need to talk about my schedule. I work from home these days, so I'm a bit out of my usual routine. I'm trying to get back into a proper schedule. Do you have any tips?
That sounds like a great idea. I get up at 7 o'clock every morning, have breakfast, and go to work. I try to keep my routine consistent. It helps me stay focused.
That's interesting. I used to get up at 7 o'clock every day. Now I'm a bit more relaxed. I'm getting up around 9 o'clock, and that's okay for now. I'm trying to find a balance.
Well, I think consistency is key. If you can find a routine that works for you, that's the most important thing.
I agree. I'm also trying to work out more. I go to the gym 3 times a week, but I'm not doing it right now. I'm working out this week, but I'm not doing it today. It's a bit confusing.
Oh, I see. You're working out this week, but you're not working out today. That's a good example of the present continuous for a temporary situation.
Right. And I usually go to the gym in the morning, but I've been doing it in the evening lately. I think it's because I've been feeling more energetic in the evening.
That's interesting. I usually go to the gym in the afternoon. It's a good time for me, but I'm trying to switch to mornings this week. I'm getting up earlier now.
That's a great goal. I hope you succeed. I'm trying to set goals for myself too. It's all about finding what works best for you.
Absolutely. And it's not easy, but it's worth it. So, your cappuccino is ready. Enjoy it and keep up the good work with your new routine.
Thank you. I will. And thanks for the advice. I'll try to stick to it as best as I can.
No problem, anytime.
All right, that was a good one. Let's try another scenario. This time, imagine I'm at a job interview. The interviewer is Olivia, and I'm Martin. I need to talk about my experience and current situation. Let's go.
Hi, Martin. Thank you for coming in. Can you tell me a bit about yourself and your current job?
Hi, Olivia. Thank you for having me. I currently work as a project manager. I manage different teams and help coordinate projects. I've been in this role for 3 years now.
That's impressive. What are your daily responsibilities?
I usually start my day by checking emails and planning the day's tasks. I meet with my team to assign tasks and ensure everything is on track. I also communicate with clients to update them on the project's progress.
That sounds like a busy but rewarding job. Are you working on any specific projects right now?
Yes, I'm working on a new project that started last month. It's a bit different from my usual work, but it's a great learning experience.
That's great to hear. You seem to be adapting well. What skills have you developed in your role?
I've developed strong communication and leadership skills. I also work on time management and problem solving. These skills have helped me in my current role.
That's fantastic. I can see that you're a valuable asset to any team. Do you have any future goals?
Yes, I'm planning to advance to a senior management position in the next few years. I'm also interested in expanding my knowledge in digital project management. I'm currently taking some online courses to help with that.
That's a great plan. It shows that you're proactive and committed to your growth. I think you'd be a great fit for this position.
Thank you, Olivia. I appreciate the opportunity. I'm really excited about the possibility of working with your team.
You're very welcome, Martin. We'll be in touch soon. Good luck.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.
All right, that was a good one. Now, let's try a third scenario. This time, imagine we're texting friends. Olivia, you're my friend, and I'm texting you about my weekend plans. Let's go.
Hey, Martin, what are you up to this weekend?
Hi, Olivia. I'm going to the beach with some friends. We're having a picnic and relaxing. I'm really looking forward to it. How about you?
I'm going to visit my family this weekend. We're having a barbecue and playing some outdoor games. It should be a fun time. I'm not doing anything else until Monday.
That sounds like a great plan. I'm trying to take a break from work and enjoy some time off. I'm going for a hike on Sunday morning. I'm not sure if I'll be online much after that.
I understand. It's important to take a break and enjoy the weekend. I hope you have a great time at the beach. Mart in text. Thank you. I'll message you after the picnic. I'm going to make sure to take some photos and share them with you. Perfect. I can't wait to see them. Enjoy your weekend and have a great time at the beach.
Thanks, I will. See you next week.
Have a great one.
That was a fun scenario, Olivia. I think these role plays really help learners see how the present simple and present continuous are used in real-life situations. It's not just about memorizing rules, it's about applying them in context.
Absolutely, Martin. And I think these scenarios also show how the tenses can be used together in the same conversation. For example, in the job interview, I used both the present simple to describe my routine and the present continuous to talk about my current projects. That's a great way to see how the tenses can work together.
And in the texting scenario, I use the present continuous to talk about my weekend plans and the present simple to describe my routine. It's all about the time frame and the context. So, if you can remember that, you'll be able to use these tenses more confidently in your own conversations.
Right. And I think it's also helpful to see how these tenses can be used in different situations. Whether you're ordering coffee, having a job interview, or texting friends, the present simple and present continuous are both important tools for expressing yourself clearly and naturally.
And don't forget that the more you practice using these tenses in real-life situations, the more comfortable you'll become. So, keep practicing, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. Every learner makes them, and the important thing is to learn from them.
Exactly, Martin. So, with that, we've covered the fun scenarios and role play section. I hope you found it helpful and enjoyable. Now, let's move on to the next part of the episode, common mis. This is where we'll look at some typical errors learners make when using the present simple and present continuous. Let's see what you did wrong last week when you were trying to order coffee, Martin.
Oh no! Let's see, I think I might have mixed up the tenses when I was talking about my new job. I said, I'm working at a bank when I meant I work at a bank. I think I was confusing the present continuous with the present simple.
Right. That's a common mistake. When you say I'm working at a bank, it means you're working there temporarily. But when you say I work at a bank, it means it's your permanent job. So it's important to choose the right tense based on the situation.
And another mistake I made was when I said, I am liking this coffee, instead of, I like this coffee. I think I was trying to use the present continuous for a feeling, but the present simple is the correct tense for most verbs of feeling.
That's right. Verbs like, love, or believe are usually in the present simple because they express states rather than actions. So, I like this coffee is correct, while I am liking this coffee is not commonly used.
Another mistake I made was when I said, they are going to the concert every weekend, instead of they go to the concert every weekend. I was using the present continuous for a habitual action, which should be in the present simple.
Exactly, the phrase every weekend indicates a habit, so the present simple is the correct tense here. So, they go to the concert every weekend is correct, while they are going to the concert every weekend is not.
And I also made a mistake when I said, I am having a meeting at 3:00 tomorrow when I meant, I have a meeting at 3:00 tomorrow. I was using the present continuous for a scheduled future event, which should be in the present simple.
That's another common mistake. Scheduled future events are usually in the present simple, even if they're in the future. So, I have a meeting at 3 o'clock tomorrow is correct, while I am having a meeting at 3 Hublug tomorrow is not.
And I think I also made a mistake when I said, she is loving her new job instead of she loves her new job. Again, I was using the present continuous for a feeling, which is not the correct tense for most verbs of feeling.
Right. So it's important to remember that most verbs of feeling are in the present simple. She loves her new job is correct, while she is loving her new job is not. Although in very casual speech, you might hear, I am loving this, but it's still not the correct tense for most situations.
And finally, I made a mistake when I said, I'm working on my project this week, when I meant I work on my project this week. I was using the present continuous for a habitual action, which should be in the present simple.
That's right. The phrase this week indicates a temporary situation, so the present continuous is correct here. But if you're talking about something you do regularly, like I work on my project every week, the present simple is correct.
So, to recap, the main mistakes I made were confusing the present continuous with the present simple for habitual actions, using the present continuous for verbs of feeling, and using the present continuous for scheduled future events. I also made a mistake with the time expressions, using the wrong tense based on the context.
Exactly. And these are all common mistakes that learners make. The key is to pay attention to the context and the time expressions. If you're talking about a habit or a general truth, the present simple is correct. If you're talking about something happening now or a temporary situation, the present continuous is correct. And if you're talking about a scheduled future event, the present simple is correct.
And the time expressions are really important. Words like every day, usually, often, or always indicate the present simple. Words like now, at the moment, right now, or currently indicate the present continuous. And words like tomorrow, next week, or this weekend indicate the present simple for scheduled future events.
That's a great summary. So, the more you practice using these tenses in real life situations, the more comfortable you'll become. And remember, it's okay to make mistakes. It's all part of the learning process.
And with that, we've covered the common mistakes section. I hope this helps you avoid the same errors and feel more confident when using the present simple and present continuous. Now, let's move on to the next part of the episode. Quick quiz. This is where I'll test Olivia's knowledge, and we'll also give you a chance to test your own. So, Olivia, are you ready for the quiz?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Great. Question 1. What tense should I use to say, I eat breakfast every morning? Is it present simple or present continuous?
That's an easy one. The answer is present simple because it's a habitual action.
Correct. The phrase every morning indicates a habit, so the present simple is the correct tense. Now, question 2. What tense should I use to say, I'm eating breakfast right now? Is it present simple or present continuous?
This one is present continuous because it's an action happening now.
Perfect. The phrase right now indicates that the action is happening at the moment of speaking, so the present continuous is the correct tense. Question 3. What tense should I use to say, she works at a bank? Is it present simple or present continuous?
That's present simple because it's a general statement about her job.
Correct. The verb works is in the present simple, and it's used to describe a permanent job. Question 4. What tense should I use to say, she is working at a bank this week? Is it present simple or present continuous?
That's present continuous because it's a temporary situation.
Exactly. The phrase this week indicates that the action is temporary, so the present continuous is the correct tense. Final question. What tense should I use to say, the train leaves at 8:10 tomorrow? Is it present simple or present continuous?
That's present simple because it's a scheduled future event.
Correct. Even though the time is in the future, the present simple is used for scheduled events like train departures. So, Olivia did great. Now listeners, try to answer these questions on your own. See if you can match Olivia's answers.
And if you got some of these wrong, don't worry. It's all part of the learning process. The key is to keep practicing and using these tenses in real life situations. So keep your ears open for these tenses in your own conversations, and you'll start to feel more confident in your choices.
And that's the end of the quick quiz section. I hope you found it helpful and that it helped you test your understanding of the present simple and present continuous. Now, let's move on to the next part of the episode, practical tips and homework. This is where I'll give you some tips for using these tenses correctly, and I'll also give you some homework to help you practice.
All right, Martin. Let's start with the practical tips. First, always pay attention to the context and the time expressions. If you're talking about a habit or a general truth, the present simple is correct. If you're talking about something happening now or a temporary situation, the present continuous is correct. And if you're talking about a scheduled future event, the present simple is correct. So keep these in mind when you're speaking or writing in English.
Right. And here are some more tips. If you're using the present continuous for a future arrangement, make sure to include a specific time or event. For example, we are meeting at the cafe tomorrow, or they are flying to Paris next week. The time expression is important because it indicates that the action is in progress.
And remember to use the present continuous for temporary situations. For example, I'm staying in London for the next month, or she is working on a new project this week. These are temporary actions, so the present continuous is correct.
And for the present simple, remember to use it for general truths, habitual actions, and scheduled future events. For example, the sun rises in the east. I go to work every day, and the train leaves at 8 o'clock tomorrow. These are all correct uses of the present simple.
And don't forget that certain verbs are used almost exclusively in one tense or the other. For example, verbs like know, love, or believe are usually in the present simple, while verbs like go, come, or leave can be used in both tenses depending on the context. So it's important to learn the common uses of these verbs.
And here's a fun tip. Try to use the present continuous in your everyday conversations to sound more natural. For example, in informal speech, you might say, I'm loving this movie, or she is getting better at English. It's a way to express stronger, more immediate emotions. But in formal writing, you would stick to the present simple for these types of statements. Olavi, and for the homework, I want you to practice using both tenses in real-life situations. Try to come up with 5 sentences in the present simple and 5 sentences in the present continuous that use the same verb, but in different contexts. For example, I work at a bank, and I am working at a bank this week. This will help you see the difference more clearly. And don't forget to pay attention to the time expressions. If you're talking about a habit or a general truth, use the present simple. If you're talking about something happening now or a temporary situation, use the present continuous. And if you're talking about a scheduled future event, use the present simple. So, keep practicing, and you'll start to feel more confident in your choices.
And finally, try to use these tenses in your own conversations and writing. The more you use them, the more natural they will become. So don't be afraid to make mistakes. It's all part of the learning process. And remember, the key is to keep practicing and using these tenses in real life situations.
And with that, we've covered the practical tips and homework section. I hope you found it helpful and that it gave you some ideas for how to practice using the present simple and present continuous in your own language learning journey. Now, let's wrap up the episode with our final words of advice and a friendly sign-off. So, Olivia, any final thoughts?
I think the most important thing to remember is that the present simple and present continuous are both essential tenses in English. They serve different purposes, and the key is to use them correctly based on the context. So keep practicing, pay attention to the time expressions, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. The more you use these tenses in real-life situations, the more natural they will become.
And remember, learning English is a journey, and it's okay to make mistakes along the way. The important thing is to keep learning and improving. So keep practicing these tenses, and you'll see a big improvement in your speaking and writing skills.
And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to the Daily English Learning Podcast for more episodes like this. We've got a lot more topics coming up, and we'd love to help you improve your English every day.
And if you have any questions or want to share your progress, feel free to reach out to us on social media or through our website. We're always happy to hear from our listeners and help you on your language learning journey.
Thanks for joining us today, everyone. Don't forget to practice those tenses, and we'll see you next time.
Have a great day and keep learning English. Goodbye.